whiteness privileged. White supremacy operates with the assumption that white folks and white folk culture is superior to cultures of people of color.
Correct.
If the hierarchy is set up so that you as a person and your artistic expression is less than, then you have to find some way of establishing a connection to what is viewed to be more sophisticated,
Yes.
more valued. And so that's a compromise that ends up happening.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing related to this that I was thinking about within Unitarian Universalist circles particularly is sort of political, the notion of progressive, liberal faith tradition, and I call it the I walked with Dr. King syndrome, right? So Unitarian Universalists have this level of self-satisfaction about how enlightened they are, and pronouns are always a challenge, right? So they,
Yes.
but we're part of that they.
We are part of the day.
And that's part of the struggle right now, right?
Solid.
But this idea of being progressive, of being open and accepting, not accepting, tolerant of racial difference and the struggle. And this question about, well, we're down.
Yeah.
Why are not the people of color, why are our congregations still so white? And I was like, well, you've created the space this way.
Right.
And one of the ways of showing how that space is created as a white space is to look at the hymnody history. But the idea of creating the space as one that values white supremacy and then turning around and saying, well, why is this a white denomination? It confounds me.
Yes.
It confounds me. And then, of course, because of that progressive political trajectory of Unitarian Universalism, there's a desire to correct for that problem, right? So when we get to conversations about cultural appropriation, that's about that compensation, overcompensation. Yeah. So now we want to include as much, Black culture as we possibly can, and we'll sing more R&B songs, and we'll do the spirituals properly, and we'll without understanding that those same dynamics, those white supremacist dynamics are still at play.
Right.
So when you say, okay, so we will take and incorporate into our way of being Black culture, it's the same thing. It's stealing, it's exploitation, it's all of that stuff. But the whole idea of a predominantly, if not exclusively, white congregation singing that song, how it got in there, how it managed with all of the very beautiful Christian ancestral hymns there were to choose from, and the sweeping way in which those were excised from the hymnals to establish humanism as the core. There's a lot of thought that's gone in. That's been erased, but we're going to bring in Black music that has. It's so problematic. Like I don't know how that escaped.
Right.
The discussion. It's like which spirituals are we going to include in the hymnal? Let's go with No More Auction Block for me.
What?
Were they smoking something that day? I don't understand.
There's just so many questions.
Yes.
Again, going back to the confusion of it all. The confusion. The confusion. If we have that to remind us of our freedom, can we then address and truly engage the systems that we're engaging in? Why do so few of our POC professional religious people stay at their churches? Why is it so hard to retain their employment for an extended period of time? I don't know. Have no idea. Maybe we need to look at what is happening. Are we allowing Black, brown, Asian, indigenous bodies and people in those cultures to show up as themselves that may look and act and lead differently than how the church has probably done it in the past? And say, okay, this is really the act of engaging that and building relationship with those cultures. It's like all of this feels so much about putting a Band-Aid over, the Grand Canyon of the problem, We're just gonna put this little.
Well, I'm glad that you invoked the concept, the notion of community relationship.
Yes.
Because to me, ultimately, that's where everything is broken down. We're not in relationship with the people that we say we want to, at least intellectually, have as part of our, and I'm speaking UU culture broadly. And going back to the idea of hymnody as a way of constructing all of this, the impulse to revise, to change, to white out. Right?
Or white in, don't forget
about
the
exactly.
Turn around.
Exactly. Turn me around.
Continue.
And three simple R words, right? Revision requires relationship. So when you're going to change things fundamentally, you can only do that honestly, authentically, if you have established a relationship with the group of people, with the person, even if you're talking about a single composer.
Yes.
The person, the creative person who's put that forward, you need to be in relationship with that person or that culture in order to make your revision choice a legitimate, yet loving and engaged action. Revision requires relationship, and I think we just use that as our mantra. A lot of the stuff around cultural appropriation and cultural racism and all of that stuff would be a lot easier for folks to understand and to make some progress in terms of healing those fractures, right?
Yeah.